Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from 10th chapter, Bhagavad Gita, text 24. Purodasham cha mukyam mam vidhi partha brahaspatim senaninam aham skandaha sarasam asmi sagaraha. So translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charnaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. Of priests, O Arjuna, know me to be the chief, Brihaspati, the Lord of devotion. Of generals, I am Skanda, the Lord of war. And of bodies of water, I am the ocean. So we have a small purport. I'll read the purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charnaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Purport. Indra is the chief demigod of the heavenly planets and is known as the king of the heavens. The planet in which he reigns is called Indraloka. Brihaspati is Indra's priest. And since Indra is the chief of all kings, Brihaspati is the chief of all priests. And as Indra is the chief of all kings, similarly Skanda, the son of Parvati and Lord Shiva, is the chief of all military commanders. And of all bodies of water, the ocean is the greatest. These representations of Krishna only give hints of his greatness. So here we see Krishna is continuing to talk about his opulences. And we see actually just a few verses before in the verse 22, Krishna actually mentions that of the beings, right? Of all the demigods, he is actually Indra. He says, Devanam Asmi Vasavaha. So of all the devas, of all the demigods, he is the Indra because Indra is the king of the demigods. And here he is saying, Purodasham cha mukyam mam. Purodasham. Purodasham means the priests. Of all the priests, cha mukyam, the chief, mam, saying, I am like the chief, of the priests, I am the chief. And they're saying, Vidhi Partha Brahaspatim. So Vidhi, he says, O Partha, O son of Pratha Arjuna, please understand that I am as good as Brihaspati among all the priests. And then he gives one more comparison. He says, Senaninam aham skandaha. Senaninam. That means of all the commanders, aham, that is, I, skandaha. I am the skanda. Skanda is the Kartikeya. As we read in the purport, Kartikeya is the son of Mother Parvati and Lord Shiva. So because he is the commander in chief of the army of demigods, so he is the chief of all commanders that one can think of. So Krishna is saying here that I am like this Kanda, in comparison to all the commanders. That means he's a chief. And then he mentions another analogy. He says, Sarasam Asmi Sagaraha. Sarasam means reservoirs of water. We all know reservoirs of water, different kinds of reservoirs of water. There are ponds, lakes, and different reservoirs of water. Now, compared to those, Asmi, Sarasam Asmi Sagaraha. Krishna is saying, I am the ocean in compared to all the different kinds of reservoirs of water. So, we might not personally know Indra or Brihaspati or Skanda, but this analogy of that Krishna is saying of the water, reservoirs of water in the ocean, we can understand the gravity of the intensity of how magnanimous Krishna is, how magnanimous God is, right? We all have seen different reservoirs of water, probably even the largest lakes. But once we go to the ocean, we can realize how magnanimous, how magnificent the ocean is, how great, body of water the ocean is. So, that is a practical way to see the comparison, see how great God is actually. So here, Krishna is continuing to mention different opulences and he's trying to emphasize his greatness. So one would, think, why should we know about the greatness of God, right? What is the benefit or what is the point? Okay, God is great in general, it is said, but Prabhupada says just knowing that God is great is not sufficient. We need to know how great God is, and when we know how great God is, then something very special happens that Krishna mentions in the beginning of this chapter, in the seventh and eighth verse. He says, "Etam vibhutim yogam cha mamayo vetti tatvatah sa avikalpena yogena yujyate natra samsayaha." So he says, "Etam vibhutim yogam cha." If once one knows about all these opulences, mamayo vetti tattataha, one who knows in actuality, in factually, the Lord's greatness should not be understood just vaguely. It has to be understood factually, means by corroborating a lot of facts, by understanding where of lot of facts. Then what happens once we know that? Then we will be able to appreciate God and engage in his devotional service. So he says, he who knows the truth, this glory and power of mine, engages in unalloyed devotional service. Of this, there is no doubt. So, this is the main intent. Why is Krishna mentioning his greatness? So that we can understand factually and we can actually engage in his devotional service. In the next verse, again, he says, Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo Matta Sarvam Pravartate. Krishna is now saying about the entire existence. He's saying, I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds, and everything emanates from me. And then what happens once one knows this knowledge? Iti matva bhajante mam bhuda bhava samanvitaha. Iti matva, by knowing this, bhajante mam, one will be able to worship bhuda bhava samanvitaha with great attention. So this is the reason we should know the opulences, the greatness of Krishna. Why? By knowing these opulences, bhuda bhava samanvitaha, we will be able to worship Krishna. So now talking about greatness of Krishna, and if we are able to worship Krishna by understanding the greatness of Krishna, that is actually the purpose of our life. That is the success of our life. The human life is meant to attain, perfection of the whole purpose of our existence. That is ultimately Atato Brahma Jignasa. We have to understand Krishna and we have to go back to Krishna. So that is why it is very important to understand how great God is, right? And by reading Bhagavad Gita, by listening from Krishna himself, we can understand how great God is. Now, Krishna also says towards the end of the chapter that this entire existence, right, our whole creation, the entire existence is just maintained by a small fragment of his energy. Now, when we say this whole existence, let's try to understand a little bit what is the entire existence. What is this the greatness that is here in the world that we are living in, right? Actually, if we just observe nature, we can understand how great God is. Actually, we don't even have to observe the entire nature. We just have to observe ourselves. Then we will know. But unfortunately, what's happening is, there is a misinformed knowledge being propagated from our childhood that nature has come about on its own. There was a chunk, and there was a big bang, and there is this whole Big Bang theory that there is an explosion that happened, and then everything came into being. So it completely isolating, completely alienating the fact that there is a supreme intelligent person behind it. Now, why do we say a supreme intelligent person is behind it? Well, if a bang has happened, if an explosion has happened, have we ever come across an explosion or a bang that results in a very structured and organized arrangement? Right. So I'll give an example of let's say a big shopping mall. Multi floors. So many floors are there. There's a lot of elaborate arrangement. There are escalators. There are halls. There are theaters. There are walkways. There are different kinds of restaurants, restrooms. All facilities are there. Now, if someone says, "Oh, this big mall, there was a big bang. There was a big explosion, and this came about," how absurd is it? Who would even believe it? Because we all know a very common thing: matter does not self organize. If there is a pile of cement, bricks, concrete structure, metal, and all kinds of infrastructure, if a pile of that is there, it will always remain like that even for hundreds and thousands of years. But when an intelligent person comes and then starts to organize and arrange and construct and build, that is when the matter will transform itself into a very structured, organized way. So in the same way, we see that our whole existence, the entire planetary system, the solar system, or even the minutest things like living beings, or even our own body, it is not a result of a random explosion, right? If you just analyze our body, it is such a complicated, sophisticated instrument. Literally, Krishna says, Yantra Rudani Maya. Our body is nothing but a machine, isn't it? If you analyze scientifically, what is our body? It is an, a machine with made of organic matter. What is organic matter? It is pure, chemicals, atoms from this world. It's nothing special. It is pure matter, but it is arranged in such a wonderful way that if you just spend little time thinking about just our body, it is mind-boggling, right? So if you just analyze ourselves, right, we have these eyes. These eyes are nothing but cameras, isn't it? And they have this ability to autofocus. You're looking at something close, and suddenly somebody says, "Hey, look at that thing little far away." Immediately, your eyes automatically autofocus. There is an arrangement of lens. It is pure physics. Scientists have analyzed, and they have used the analyze the eye to design cameras, right? And what are our ears? Our ears are like microphones. They're like stereo microphones. You have left and right. You know what is happening. If a sound comes, you know which side is it coming from. Is it from the left or the right or the front? Just by using the two ears, you know exactly around you from where the sound is coming. Now we have the mouth. It is nothing but a speaker, isn't it? We have the brain, does all kinds of calculations. It is nothing but a CPU, right? We have our mind. We remember so many things. It's like a memory. It's a memory machine. And the whole body, it is the arrangement of the different bones and the different, movements that we can do. It is so sophisticated. We can hold a very fine, small pin, and we can hold, a big box also, isn't it? It's such a mechanical arrangement, and there is a constant balancing act going on. If you have something which has like a two legs, you can imagine how wide are the legs. They're not much wide, right? It requires a lot of balancing. So without our knowledge, the brain is constantly balancing based on the terrain. Let's say you're climbing steps, you're climbing down the steps, you're walking uphill, or you're walking on a road or on a bunch of stones or sand. The brain is constantly calculating the inputs that is getting from just 2 feet. It's like 2 feet by whatever 5 6 inches probably. With the 2 feet, it is able to do all these calculations, and there is full mechanical arrangement of adjusting all the muscles and the bones and in a way so that you're always able to balance yourself, right? And then the whole nervous system, at any point, anything that you come in touch, you can sense. And there is the whole electrical nervous system. It is nothing but electronic engineering, right? There is mechanical engineering, there is electronic engineering, and the whole process of we take food and we digest it, and then we get energy of it, and the waste is discarded. It is like a major, like a very complicated biomechanical engineering. Now, if just by analyzing our body, we understand that there is so much arrangement. Now, cameras, microphones, speakers, CPU, we talked about all these things, mechanical arrangements, electronic arrangements. Do they all happen by an explosion? We know all around us, there are great cameras made by great companies, there are these CPUs, there are memory, there is all mechanical arrangements. Is it happening by explosion, by chance? No. Matter has to be arranged by the intelligent people. And imagine how intelligent the person should be who designed our body. Even Darwin, who proposed the evolution theory, he himself did not believe in it. And he gave the example of the eye. He said, the eye is such a complex instrument that it has so much arrangement to adjust light and brightness. Actually, our eye has all kinds of mechanism. If the place becomes very bright, automatically it does some adjustment so that you're still able to see. And if the place is dark, it will make an adjustment so that you'll still be able to capture, right? So he gave the example, Darwin gave the example of the eye, and he said, I just can't believe that all this can come about by natural evolution. So that is why it is called a theory. It is not a fact. It was just a theory, but unfortunately, the modern, people who are so-called scientists, they wanted to keep aside a supreme creator, a supreme being, because the nature of the soul, the living being in this world, they have a tendency to cheat, and they don't want to accept that there is somebody superior who is observing me. That means I'll be punished. That means I'll be in trouble. That means I can't do whatever I want. But the intent, the deep down desire is I want to do whatever I want without any restriction. And that is why they always decry, they deny an existence of a supreme being. But actually, just by putting little common sense, we can know that such a sophisticated, just I talked about just my body or your body or the human body, so much sophisticated, complicated arrangement cannot happen just by chance. Even the people who put these theories, genuinely they have accepted that this doesn't seem to be possible. And there are some genuine scientists also, like Albert Einstein. He was a believer in God, and he always credited God for any great natural phenomena that was discovered. He said it is just God's creation. So there are genuine scientists also. And then again, talking about this body, the modern science, scientists, robotics has been in place for in 1940s is when they first started building robots. So 1940 and this is 2025. So 85 years. There are great top researchers, different top universities and scientists. They're working so hard to create a kind of a humanoid robot, right? Something that has all the abilities of human, but we know what is the progress made. They are barely able to accomplish. Right? Today, yes, we do have Elon Musk is working on the Optimus, robot and all. They're able to do some things, but imagine so 85 years of research by hundreds and thousands of top scientists in the world. How much have they accomplished? And are they? They are no way close to doing anything that a human can do. And how, just to end with the sophisticated nature of the machine that God Krishna has created, the human being or any living being, they are capable to self reproduce, self sustain and self reproduce, and completely organic. There is no waste or destroying the earth in making this equipments or machinery. Now, can the scientists make a self reproducing machine that can heal and self sustain? We know that it is almost impossible. So that talks about the greatness of God. And is it just one species we are talking about, human being? No, there are 8.4 million species of life. There are species that can actually fly. So that means we talked about the mechanical engineering arrangement in our body. That means there is the entire aerodynamic engineering also. Krishna has expressed his ability to design something that can fly, that can take off, that can land, and that can fly, and it can sustain itself. Isn't it? Isn't it amazing? And Prabhupada used to say, take an example of a small mosquito. The scientists are trying to invent big, big things. Prabhupada said, can they make a small mosquito, which can, so small, which can fly, which can land, and all these things? But we can see how great Krishna's creation is. So the species that fly, they exhibit the aerodynamic mechanics, right? And it is not just on the land and the air, even in the water there are different, it said Jalaja Navalakshani. So that means there are 900,000 species are under the water. And they all have, this hydrodynamic engineering built into it. They can navigate inside the water, they can go underwater, they can go above water, they can completely even survive in the water. They have found some species of aquatic species that can exist like hundreds like many kilometers deep in the ocean. Now the submarines that we are inventing, they also go in ocean, but actually they have a problem. When they go very deep, the pressure is so much that they implode. Unfortunately, that happened recently. There was a submarine that was made. I think it's called the Titan or something. They were trying to explore the Titanic wreckage in the ocean. So, but when they got very close, the pressure was so much that equipment couldn't handle, and actually it imploded. And everyone, including the CEO of that company, died inside it. So that is the limitations that we have. And imagine how Krishna created all these species. There are species even below that level, even at the level of Titanic. They are not getting imploded by the pressure of the water. So how is that designed, isn't it? So we can see how great Krishna is. We need to understand this, because unfortunately we have become very oblivious to everything around us and take it for granted. And we don't put any thought, because the modern education system has trained us to think, oh, this all just happened by chance. This is just, a chunk that exploded. But no, it is not a chunk that exploded. It is just by putting little common sense, we can see how, great the creation around us is, right? And it's not just the species. Now, if you go a little further, we are on this planet, right? And this planet is, the Earth is so wonderfully arranged. It's going around the, in the solar system, and it has these various seasons. Now we are going through the fall, and then there'll be winter. So much structure, so much arranged. We can exactly say what will be the sunrise time tomorrow. We can say what will be the sunrise time after 100 years also. We can even calculate what it will be after 1,000 years. How can such a perfect arrangement happen on its own? Right? Everything is so systematic. Just like if you built a train, sometimes these automated trains are there, like they schedule them, and they go exactly at the same time, they stop at the same time, they close the doors, open the doors. Such a systematic perfection of timing cannot happen without expert arrangement. So we have to understand how intelligent Krishna, God, might be, that he has created these planets. Now it is not just the planet, the solar system, right? It's not just our 9 planets. They say it is just one of the star, and there are these planets or whatever, one mechanism, and it says that we are this is part of a galaxy called the Milky Way, and it is just one planet, right? Earth. Now if you just think little bit about the, we might have studied in science and everything, now with the perspective of that this is created by God. Now, just the Milky Way galaxy, right? As per this is all the numbers from the modern scientists, right? They say it has close to 100 billion up to 3.2 trillion planets. So just the Milky Way galaxy, we are one planet, we are living on one planet, Earth. The Milky Way galaxy has somewhere between 100 billion to 3.2 trillion planets. Now, these are the numbers we can't even comprehend. But in just one galaxy, there are this many planets. So 3.2 trillion planets in one galaxy. Now there is another galaxy next to us. They say it's called the Andromeda galaxy. Now there are so many galaxies like this. And then just again, as per the modern scientific numbers, they have made an estimate of how many galaxies are there. Right? Each galaxy has like 3.2 trillion planets. They say it seems like there are 2 trillion galaxies, right? So they're doing the space research, they're sending this Hubble, telescope and everything. What are they finding? That there seems to be around 2 trillion galaxies. Now imagine these numbers are beyond our comprehension. 2 trillion galaxies, and each galaxy having around 3.2 trillion planets. So the total number of planets, if you make some calculation based on this again scientific numbers, they say there are 100 sextillion planets. Again, this is guess based on the vastness of the universe they are seeing. And 100 sextillion, this word sextillion means it's 100 billion, 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 right? These are the numbers we can't even comprehend. Now, all this is not just randomly happening. Just like our planet has a perfect structure and timing, everything, every planet, every universe, every galaxy, every place, there is this, perfect timing and structure and organized activity going on. They're not just static, they're all moving, they're in motion, and they are observing this different as the earth is going around the sun. They're seeing, they're observing all these things, they're all in motion, and this is all one universe, right? 2 trillion galaxies, 100 sextillion planets in one universe. Now how many universes are there? The scientists have also done some calculations, and now they're coming to an understanding that it is not just one universe. We are living in this one universe, but they're saying there are multiverses, there are multiple universes. And how many universes? It's a very interesting number they have come up with. They're saying 10 to the power of 500 universes are there, is what they're thinking. Now, this is like infinity, infinite. Now, this vast, this magnanimous, this gigantic creation, Krishna, what is he saying? This is all the material world, and he says, just by a fragment of my energy, I have created this. So now we can understand how great Krishna is. And actually, this creation, we have very clear information, how Krishna did this creation. In Brahma Samhita, there are, few verses where Lord Krishna talks about, actually Lord Brahma, when he spoke the Brahma Samhita, he says how this creation came into existence, how these planets, how these universes came into existence. I'll just mention that there in the text 47 of Brahma Samhita, Lord Brahma, when he realized Krishna, he's offering these prayers. He's saying, Yak Karanarnava Jale Bhajati Sma Yoga Nitram Ananta Jagadanda Saroma Kupaha. He says, Yak Karanarnava Jale. So this is something even the modern scientists have not yet found, that there is something called Karna Jala. There is a causal ocean. And what is happening in this causal ocean? The Lord Vishnu, Mahavishnu, is lying down on this causal ocean. Ya Karanarnavajale Bhajati Sma Yoga Nidra. So this is not a regular sleep. Mahavishnu is in something called a Yoga Nidra. So this that lying down, that sleep that the Mahavishnu is called as Yoga Nidra. And what is he doing there? Ananta Jagadanda Saroma Kupaha. Ananta means unlimited. So when he is lying down on this causal ocean, there is something happening. Ananta Jagadanda. Jagadanda means universe. See, you will find this word anda, Brahmanda, Jagadanda, Bhugola. The Vedic literature already knew that everything is spherical, that the universe is spherical, the earth is spherical. But modern science until a few hundred years ago, they were not even able to figure out whether the earth was flat, or the sun is, spherical or not. So, but we see here, these are all literatures more than 5,000 years old. Very clearly, something is being revealed that about these universes. This Mahavishnu, ya Karanarnava Jale, Bhajatisma Yoga Nidra, when he is in this Yoga Nidra, Jagadanda Saroma Kupaha, these universes, we just talked about 10 to the power of 500 universes that exist. They're all coming out from the Saroma Kupaha, from the pores of his skin, from his hair, This Roma, Roma Harshana. Like Roma is the pores of the hair. And then Adara Shaktim Avlamya Param Swamurtim Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. And he's giving the energy, the potency to sustain all these things. So these multiverses are existing. Where are they coming from? They're actually coming from the skin pores of Mahavishnu. Now we can imagine how huge the causal ocean is. Again, this is all it is said is just a one-fourth creation. This is just the material world. What we talked about, all this is just the material existence. The spiritual, the Vedic literature revealed that there is another spiritual existence, which is actually three-fourth of the entire creation. So this is just the one-fourth. And then it is said, Yasyai Kanisvasita Kala Matavalambya Jivanti Loma Vilaja Jagadanda Nataha. Now, these universes that they are coming out from the skin pores of Mahavishnu, how long do they exist? Jivanti Loma Vilaja. Just the actually it said Yasyaika Niswasita Kalam. The time is Niswasita, one breath of Mahavishnu. All this, when he's exhaling, the universes are coming into existence, and when he's inhaling, the universe are all getting destroyed. So like this we can see in the Vedic scripture, and this actually very much aligns with the modern understanding also. The modern scientists say the universe is always expanding, and they say that it will come to a point where it will stop expanding and it will start contracting again. This is the exact same thing that is mentioned in Brahma Samhita, that when he's breathing, when he's exhaling, these universes are coming into existence, and when he's inhaling, they all come back and they go back into the Mahavishnu, and everything will be destroyed. So even the scientists agree that currently the universe is constantly expanding, and then they say it will actually stop and it will start contracting and everything will collapse into each other. And that is already mentioned in Brahma Samhita. So what is more advanced science that is available? Is it the Vedic literature, or is it the scientists who are doing hundreds, thousands of years of research and coming up with one small fact once in a time, right? So this is the greatness of Krishna. By just using a little bit of our mind and intelligence, we can appreciate how great Krishna is. And who is this Krishna? He is our supreme father. And why did he create all this? Because we have forgotten him, we have forgotten everything about him, and he wants us back in his home, in the spiritual world. So this all this Vedic knowledge is given for us to remind ourselves of Krishna and to revive our lost relationship with Krishna. And he has created all this to just to facilitate our desires. Why are there so many planets and so many species and so many mechanisms? Everything to facilitate our desire. If I have a desire to fly, I'm very fascinated by flying. Next life, Krishna will fulfill it by giving me a life of a species that can fly like a bird. So Krishna is constantly facilitating our desires. But it is time that Krishna wants us to stop, being away from him and constantly desiring, because as a dear father he wants all his children back and exchange loving relationship. We're all experimenting, trying so many things in this life, but we are missing something. We are not finding that complete satisfaction, the love of the Lord, and that is available only when we go back to Krishna. So, by understanding all this, the magnanimity of Krishna, the greatness, and understanding the fact that he has done all this just for us, for to satisfy our desires, and his desire is to us to go back to him. So with this, we should be able to cultivate, that love and devotion, and that's what Krishna is saying. By knowing all this, uh, bhajate mam bhuda bhava samanvitaha. So we should be able to take advantage of all this knowledge and information, and to get closer to him and actually be able to worship him. So I'll stop here. If anybody has any questions, can discuss. All right, so we'll end here. Thank you all. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki